we've got the meeting laid out and run through what the agenda is, and then we'll get to it. But we'll give her a couple minutes yet.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Travis. Okay, I think, Jordan, for the sake of everybody, honoring everybody's time, I think we can go ahead and get started. And since this is a live meeting that's going to be recorded on YouTube, I think that, they can come back and watch it if they miss it. So we can go ahead and get started.
All right, very good. So I'm Jordan with ICS, project manager for the current construction project. This is the Ogema parking lot user group meeting number 1. So first off, before we get into introductions, I'll just kind of explain the basic idea behind how the design is going to go for this. Basically, we've foregone an SD presentation just due to the fact that we've kind of already put together an SD design and had some input from Lisa and Dan. So we didn't feel it was necessary. But the point of this user group meeting is so that you all, as folks that are going to be using this facility, can provide input as far as what needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there, and really it's going to be back and forth to help design, understand what you need so that they can put on paper what you guys would like to have there. So that being said, I put together the agenda, and can you all see my screen that I'm sharing right now?
Yep.
Okay, so I just kind of added four main bullet points that we're going to try to focus on. Number one is introductions. I think we'll go around and just introduce who we are and kind of what our role is, and then we'll go through. We've got Steve and Corey with Obernell on the call. I'm not sure, was Trevor going to join us today? Yes, he is on the call. We'll have those three go through and present the drawings that they've put together so far, and then I've got another line item for requested design changes. So basically, what that's going to be is stuff that you guys aren't seeing or stuff that you're seeing that you think needs to be changed. And then at the end, kind of have an open discussion and questions. And Steve, I'll kind of leave it up to you, but do you want to go through the presentation first before we take any questions, or what would you like to do there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, all right, we'll get going with introductions. And Steve, I'll let you share your screen when it comes to the drawing portion. But again, I'm Jordan with ICS, project manager for the construction project. Why don't we go down the line here? Steve, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. My name is Steve Schilke. I'm a civil engineer with Obernell Engineering.
Okay, why don't we go with Corey next?
Hi, I'm Corey Johnson, civil engineer with Obernell Engineering as well.
Okay, and then Trevor, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? Looks like he's on mute. He might be having some technical difficulties. And then Lisa, do you want to just introduce who all you've been had invited, and then we can get her going.
Sure. Lisa Weber, Superintendent of Mahnomen-Waubun Schools. And we have a variety of people invited. We've got, I see Alan Haugo from the school board is online here. And then we've got Michelle Heisler from the district office here for business manager. Tammy Brem is online, and you all know Tammy. Lori Johnson, it looks like she's on, the principal from the elementary school. Andrea Haverkamp is dean of students at Ogema Schools. As we go down the line here, I'm looking, Christy Bament is elementary teacher. We've got Kyle Dormanen from facilities. Lisa Faber is elementary. She's STEM teacher or STEAM teacher down at elementary school. Trying to see who else I might be missing. We've got a couple more elementary teachers that should be logging in here. So a couple more elementary people coming on here soon also that should be joining us. Dan will be possibly listening in. He had another commitment. So Dan will be, and then we got Travis Gary online also. So we've got some elementary representation for staff and facilities representation for staff, as well as administration and some school board that'll be joining us.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. With that, I think we'll turn it over to Ober now, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will just be here to take notes and document everything we talked about. So, Steve, I don't know if you want to start.
Sure. Yep. Let's see here. Okay, let me know if you can see the site plan.
We could see it. It looks a little small, Steve. So just zoom in to certain portions.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I've got it maximized on mine, and then we'll kind of zoom in. So,
okay, I'm not seeing it. So what am I doing wrong? It says you're presenting.
If you check the grid up at the top, can you change the grid and maybe it'll show up as in the upper right?
Okay, if everyone else online can see it, you guys keep going. I'll keep playing and I'll catch up. Okay?
All right.
All right.
okay. I think everybody has seen at least a conceptual layout of this plan. Maybe what I'll do is I'll zoom in here to the main entrance. Everybody see that pretty well?
No, it says it's here. Picture.
So what we've got is we're showing two entrances off the county highway, or a state highway, excuse me. What the intent is for the north entrance to be in only, and the or entrance only, and the south driveway to be an exit only. So we'd have basically a one-way loop going through the parking lot. We've got a few spots in here for parking, and then we've got spaces available then along the edge adjacent to the sidewalk for parent pickup and drop off. We are providing some ADA accessible ramps located, if you can see, can you see my cursor as I move that around?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a pedestrian ramp here for passenger loading, unloading zone, as well as over here. So basically the sidewalk will drop and be flush with the pavement. That's an ADA, Minnesota ADA requirement. And then we added a ped ramp here for access to the main entrance. Talking to the state, this is what they would allow for driveway width, which is perfectly fine with the automobiles that we expect using this this lot. They also requested that we continue the sidewalk through, kind of like there is now, continue a sidewalk through this median and tying in then into the sidewalk, this existing sidewalk that's adjacent to the school. Let's see, the west side then is our bus pickup drop off. So we've got room here for 10 buses. And we've got the drop off lane where the bus can still get through here if need be, with the buses sitting here. This is the house, the residence that we are currently constructing around. So we have sidewalk that's running north, and then our access road for the buses running north up to this parking lot here, where we've got approximately 50 parking spaces. Access to and from this lot then will be off of this access road here, so that it lessens the conflict on Feather Street. And then we've got then our connection to Feather Street. And we've got we have the radius such that a bus can make the movements in and out. So that's kind of an overall review of the site. I'll open it up to any questions that anybody may have, or if they want me to touch on something specific.
I have a question. I've not seen this plan before, but so the parent pickup and the buses are two totally separate areas?
Yes, correct. They're completely separated. The entrances are completely different, and then the only thing that's separating then is a shared sidewalk then in between.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I guess one thing, while we wait, if anybody has any other questions, is one thing that I discussed with MnDOT, and it's not shown on this drawing, but as the highway extends to the north, there is not a turn lane at that location for Feather Street right now, like there is for the entrances here. I don't know if that is, MnDOT still wasn't sure if they were going to require a turn lane. I wasn't sure if the school was going to want a turn lane there. If we were to extend a turn lane on 59, it would be part of the project cost. So that might influence whether or not you feel that it's a need. But one thing we would do is we would make sure at a minimum that the radius, we're showing the radius on the south side here of Feather Street. We would make sure that the radius on the north side here is large enough so that a bus can make that turn without having to extend out into the opposite lane to make his turn. So at a minimum, we'll do that. The right turn lane is still up in the air.
So I have a couple of questions. And first, what would that turn lane cost? And then what's going to be in the median there where the bus turnaround is in the middle? Is that just going to be, is that empty space or?
Yeah, yep. It could just be landscaped, turf, plantings, anything you want in there. It's basically where we don't need any pavement.
And then will there be any light poles, or will they be on the side of the parking area instead of kind of right in the middle of the parking spaces?
Oh, over in this parking lot here?
Yep.
Yeah, right now you can see there's an existing light pole here and here, and then right here. So those will be removed and they'll be relocated. More than likely, Trevor, if Trevor's on, he can speak to this a little bit more, but I anticipate that there'd probably be a a lamp here and here in these two medians. Trevor, are you available?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was double muted there. Yeah, so our current plan, actually, should I just want me to share my screen real quick here, Steve? I got a plan I could bring up and
Yeah.
maybe show some locations. Sure.
I'll stop right now.
Okay, you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now we're actually planning for the north and south ends of the parking lot. Typically we like to keep, especially when there's not any sort of curb or island in the middle of the lot,
Okay.
like to keep them out of the middle. Just for the simple fact of, snow removal, things like that. If there's not a curb to protect them, they seem to get damaged. So we have two on the outer edges right here and here. I like to keep one here too to illuminate the entrance and exits. It seems to be nice when you're coming off the highway here. As far as our lighting locations, we just have some right dead center of the bus loop here. That should keep your entire area here illuminated. Heading to the north, just one here that'll light up the roadway going north and south there. Then a couple on the edges of this parking lot, as well as one to light up the entrance right here. Nothing too complicated there. These are all 30-foot poles around here. One issue that we're going to have to keep in mind is lighting pollution into this area. Obviously, putting in new lights, planning for 30-foot poles, we're going to get a little spill off into this area. So we will be cognizant of that when placing our light fixtures to be sure that there isn't too much lighting spilling over the property line. One other concern that I have a call into Otter Tail Power about are these existing overhead electrical lines here. You currently have one right in the middle of the parking lot right here that runs over to another one over here. Currently, there's a line coming down on this pole that feeds the school. The transformer's over here. I'm gonna have to coordinate something with RTL Power to see if we can't either shift both of these poles to the north completely, or just get rid of them and reroute this line maybe up to here. I know that's something that they'll have to do, and typically that's typically free of charge from them. We may have to deal with some costs with reburying this line to your new transformer location, but other than that, it shouldn't be an issue. I know Steve mentioned possibly relocating existing light poles. At this point, we aren't planning on doing that. From what I can tell, your existing poles are, I think, metal halide light fixtures. We want to update those to LED lighting. Also on higher poles as well to provide better illumination over a larger area. So all four of these here will get removed. And then one question I will pose to everybody here, maybe even more so Travis, but in Waubun, we did route spare conduits to all light pole locations for future camera mounting on poles potentially, for routing any data cabling that'll be required for those. Is that something that we would like to do here as well? Okay, we will do that. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Unless anybody has any questions on what we've seen here, that's pretty much it.
Alan, getting back to your first question regarding the price of that turn lane, we have not put an estimate to that yet. It was a conversation that we just had this morning with MnDOT. So we'd have to get back to you with a number, an estimated construction cost for that.
Okay. Yep. I would just say it would probably be needed just for the safety of everybody. So.
Mm-hmm. Typically, you'll be looking at a 200-foot turn lane with about 180-foot taper. So you're probably looking at close to 400-foot total length along the highway there.
Okay.
I do have a question as well. The parking lot, you said it will hold about 50 vehicles. Are we still able to use like where that upper parking lot is for some overflow for the time being? When we have like family events and things, I mean, with the 50 parking spots, that's going to be filled on a pretty regular basis. And I know that we have other plans moving forward, but I'm just wondering, in the interim, if we're able to use to the west of where the buses would be coming around in that area, if we can continue to use that as well for parking.
I guess, yeah, it's something that we can work in. We weren't, I guess we weren't planning at this time to keep that area, but if it's something that's needed, we could, I don't know why we couldn't work it in. Jordan, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I think it's probably something that we could do, but I guess my thoughts on it would be do a simple low cost solution, like have an entrance there and use that area kind of as free open parking. Not so much, it wouldn't be within our budget to go and regrade that whole site and put asphalt down. So just to clarify, how would you like to use that area? Would you like to go with asphalt, or are you saying to just park on that gravel area?
Just to be able to park on the gravel area when needed.
Yeah, just so you have access to it then. Yep, we can do that.
So how does the elevation of that bus turn lane, how is that going to be addressed? I mean, it seems like it could be a problem.
We haven't taken a look at the grading yet. Right now, we're just looking at what we need to provide for site layout. So elevation-wise, we haven't taken a look at anything there yet.
Okay, thank you.
We understand that the grade rises quite a bit as you head to the west. So there will be some challenges here that we'll have to take a look at and hopefully come up with a solution that'll work well, best fit the site.
Steve, one thing I'd like to add, I think we'd maybe talked about this with Lisa and Dan a while ago, but in the middle of the bus parking area, I know we were talking about snow removal, and I see you've got multiple curb there, but what would be the intent for snow removal in the bus parking area? Would it be to go in a circle to push snow around? Or I thought maybe it said, and I don't know if, I'm just trying to remember back, if that would be an area where we could make that more flush so that we could just push snow all the way across that. I do think also to add to Lori's comment earlier that I think Dan was probably intending on using some of that gravel area for his snow removal and pushing some snow up there. So that might also be a conflict, just to put it out there.
If we can use that gravel area to push snow, then perhaps we could use that center of the bus lane for overflow parking.
How many spots would that be?
We could take a look at it. You're probably looking at a dozen in the middle there. We could also look at the possibility of striping that entire bus area, that entire bus loop for after school events. Something that would only get used if that's what you're looking for. Something that could be used for parking after school when there's no chances of buses coming in and out.
It would be middle of the day.
Okay. Yeah, then
in between routes. So after the morning route, before the afternoon route.
Yeah. So then we're probably looking at the inside of there, and you're probably looking over. You can see over on the right, on the lot on the right, we've got 12 spaces there. So you're probably looking at something similar.
Steve,
Can
do you
you
want to
put
share
that
your
back
screen
up?
again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me show that. Let me bring that back up again.
Yeah, the most we could fit in that center area would be 14 spaces.
And then if we temporarily opened up the drop-off site too, that might be more conducive to, the 50 plus that.
Well, isn't that middle, wouldn't that be used more for a handicap accessible?
Are you
We
talking?
do have, sorry, Steve. We do have handicap in that area already, Christy.
I know I'm late to the party here, but that's so they're not over here where that school drop off is. They're over here on the other side where the car drop off is.
Steve,
correct?
I'll let you kind of point that out a little bit since you
Okay.
got the mouse there.
Sure. So, are you talking about right now? We've got this shown for accessible parking spaces. We got 4 spaces here.
Okay.
And that takes care of, I believe that takes care of this lot plus this lot, the count up here. So the accessible, the accessible space requirement for these 50 spaces and these 12 spaces here are accounted for with these 4 accessible spaces. If we add some additional parking over here, then we'll probably end up having to make at least one of them accessible.
How big are your parking spaces? Are they for standard vehicles? 'Cause
Yeah.
we have a lot of people that drive big rigs. Like the Tahoes, the Yukon, the Suburbans, and those kinds of things.
Yep. Yeah, these are designed for that.
And Christy, Jordan here, just to add on before, I think going back to Lisa's comment, I think what she was asking is it shows the cars laid out there as the parent pickup and drop off spaces. I think that's what Lisa was saying, is that we could potentially use those as overflow parking also during non pickup and drop off hours. There would just need to be appropriate signage, I think.
Okay. Yep.
Well, you could, but what are you going to do when somebody parks there and doesn't move their car when it's that time? If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it would work. It works best if that's only if this area and the bus area for parking is only used for after school events.
That's what I would assume.
Is it the intention to keep that little garage and the dumpsters in the same area as well?
Yeah, we don't plan on making any changes there.
And the other issue that was brought up, that Dan brought up in our meeting, was the drainage down by the sewer drainage there, is that the water flow gets frozen in the winter time because it drains across the playground. And so if we have, snow removal, that right down in that parking lot corner there, kind of where Andrea is referring to, that area that's all kind of clustered in there, is that we're really going to have to work on snow removal and where we put the snow, because that water drain off goes down to that one drain. And no matter how hard they work at that pool is there. So we're gonna have to be really careful about how that water flows and how that snow drain and drain off goes, and where it goes.
I guess our thought, because you're talking about this storm inlet right here, right?
No, back in the playground corner.
Oh, in the playground corner.
Hey, Steve, can I take over and can I take over and drive for a second? I just want to,
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit because we do already have a little bit of work on the base bid construction project that's already planned. So I figured I should run through that.
Should I just stop sharing? Do you have
Yeah.
some, yeah, the drawing? Okay.
Yeah, I've got that drawing. So. Okay, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
So I think what Lisa and Dan and I have talked about this, but what Lisa was talking about is in this area, we've got a low spot. We've got dumpsters here right now. And with this low spot there, they're battling with a lot of snow removal and water issues down in here. So that's something we have to take a look at. I guess I want to make it clear, though, for everyone here. Right now, we have an existing pad with, I believe it's an electrical transformer on it. As part of the construction project to add cooling to the Ogema school, we did have to add a chiller. And that chiller, there wasn't a good place for it on the roof. The most logical place was right next to that electrical transformer. So we do already have current work planned to extend this out and over for that new chiller. And then we extended out kind of a curb so that there's a backup or like a loading and unloading zone for Dan and Kyle to do their deliveries in and out of the school. So we already have some of that work planned here. We just need to make sure that it all ties in. So that is going to be a part of the base bid project regardless, I guess. Does that make sense to everyone there? Or would you guys like to see what that plan looks like? Because we don't have it fully detailed out here. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up. Okay, and can you guys see this screen now, the Ogema plan I'm showing?
No,
Not-
it's still on the
Yeah.
last plan
Okay.
sheet.
Bear with me. There. How about now?
Mhm.
Yep.
So here's the existing electrical transformers that I'm sure you guys have all seen on that. It'd be the northwest corner of the building. We'd be adding another pad here in the chiller, and then extending out the concrete here so that this is kind of like a ramp where it grades down so that basically Dan's concern was being able to come out with garbage and go out and follow the ramp down without having to jump any curbs or anything, which I know he's had issue with now. And then there is an existing storm inlet somewhere in this vicinity also, which is I think what Lisa was bringing up in the first place. So that's the goal, is to get this to mesh with the new parking lot design. So I just wanted to bring that up so that we all understood what was already happening. I guess any questions with that, or we can go back to Steve.
I got a quick question, Jordan. Has any of that been built yet?
None of that's been built yet. That's all slated to start same time as this project would. Okay. So that would all be an approximate June 1 start.
Are there speed bumps in the parent pickup and drop off area, or is it flat?
It's all flat.
Okay. We have issues with speed, so I'm just asking.
Okay.
Somebody had alluded to that there's future plans in the mix. Do those future plans including putting a parking lot in the area where the house is now that we're kind of going around? I just look at it and all I can think of is walking in 30 below weather across that distance, and that is a long distance.
Yes, that's the plan. So the initial plan was to purchase the house now. But right now we have a lease agreement with the homeowner, and we were able to buy a lot of the property. And so the goal right now is to put safety first and separate the drop off and the bus drive and the teacher parking lot so that we at least can address that safety issue as our initial concern. So that is the primary concern. And so we're meeting that goal and then transitioning into the eventual goal. And so right now we have a lease agreement that we'll be putting into place once we get the final closing of the house done. And then that initial agreement will be coming to the board meeting in March. And so we'll, once those details are finalized and so on, then that'll become more public information. So.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. But the goal is then that parking lot would be extended and become a much larger parking lot. So when we're talking about this need for extended parking on special events and everything else, those are significant needs and they need to be addressed. But we also want to be cognizant of how much we spend on that because we want to be able to expend, look at our long-term goal. The initial need is safety and making sure that we have adequate parking for the school day. And yes, we have these special events that we need to address. And we will eventually get there for everything. But right now it's safety, separating those drop-off points and then making sure staff has adequate parking. And in the short term, we're going to be bundling up and hoofing it. So it's the best we can do right now. But it's sure going to be a heck of a lot better than we have right now.
Any other questions anyone has or would like any clarification on anything?
Is there going to be enough lighting from, kind of on the west side of that house when you're walking to the parking lot? I know like on conference nights, it's really dark by the time we leave, and that can be kind of a frightening walk in the dark by the time you get to the other parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of lighting from the parking lot all the way down the sidewalk. It'll be well lit the entire way.
And regarding I know we talked about the mountable curb right now to ease in snow removal. Right now we're showing all these, the curb and gutter that's at the perimeter of both these lots is a mountable curb. So if you need to push from this lot over into this lot, you've got the ability, I guess, to do so if you need to push it that far. Otherwise, I don't know what the plans are for this lot over here, but go ahead.
Steve, maybe for the people that aren't familiar, do you want to explain what mountable curb is?
Oh, okay. So I'll start with a standard curb. Your standard curb is what you typically see on a city street. It's a 6-inch high vertical curb, and then about 6-inch wide. When we switch to a mountable curb, you've got a foot of gutter, but then you've got a foot that the curb raises to a 4-inch height. So you got 4-inch rise over a foot width as opposed to a 6-inch rise completely vertical. So that's a mountable curb where basically you in this case, it makes it easier to push snow over.
So I think like the gist of it is if you had a standard curb and you tried pushing snow, your plow would hit it and stop it dead in its track. With this curb, it acts kind of like a ramp so that the plow is able to keep going up and keep pushing and clearing the snow across.
Mm-hmm.
I know the first time I heard of mountable curb, I had no idea what it was. So if anybody has any questions like that, now's the time to ask these questions also. There's no dumb questions and all input is good input here. One thing I do want to just say right now is that this is a design that Obernoll has been working on, but it is by no means a final finished design. This is not something that we would go issue and tell contractors to build off of. I mean, they probably could, but what I mean by that is that, this just needs input from the district, and Obernell can make a lot of changes. So, is there anything big that anyone likes or doesn't like about it, or is there any functions or anything that we're seeing that we?
What's the thought for where snow removal is going to come off the staff parking lot? Where are we going to store snow? If we look to the west, how much property do we have there? And when there's an incline, so we push it that way, it's going to come right back into the, we're going to have icy roads and for our school buses and our teachers coming in, staff coming in. Do we dig some incline into that hill so we have a little bit of place to go to the west, or what are some thoughts there on snow removal? I mean, I think that's got to be part of our design plan.
Yeah, I'm open to any suggestions that the school may have as to what they'd like, how they'd like to operate snow removal. Right now, we don't have anything planned for this parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Could we haul it away? Get a dump truck and haul it away? And contract somebody to do that?
Right now, that would be what would have to be done unless we do something. I mean, it's going to be, you'd be talking quite a bit of excavation over here to create a spot for it, but I guess that was the what we were assuming would be done. But
can you push snow to the south? It says that's a concrete valley gutter. Would you go past that gutter to the south?
No, you got that this property line right here. So you don't own this property in here. You just have this little sliver.
Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the district does own that, and they are leasing the house to the tenant now.
We are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do own it, and we do know that we can use some of that for snow. The concern that they have is that they'll be leaking in the basement, and I mean, we would need to take care of that. So we'd have to be taking a look at that as an issue of how much snow do we want to put on that property, and how close to the house to be respectful of the renter. But that we can put some snow there, but we have to be careful how much.
Steve, do you think it'd be possible to have that whole lot cleared in to the south in that area, and then have a grade that to drain towards the road? And is there any opportunity to pick up any storm anywhere that you see?
Yeah, there's storm that runs along the highway. There's inlets here, and there's inlets. There's an inlet right here. I'd have to take a look at the survey, but I believe there's a storm line running parallel with the highway here that we could tie into.
I'm just thinking if we could push it to the south side of the lot, and then as it melts and grade it to drain down to the road, and then once it hits the road, it would travel just like any other storm water. Wondering if that would sound like a plausible solution for everyone.
That was my thought, I guess.
Yeah,
would that turn our parking lot into just a one-way track that the only way back out would be in reverse? Because would that take away the loop going around then? If we pushed it all to that south side, would we run out of room then from those center spots to the edge of the park, like the south side of the parking lot there?
This area would be clear to snow. The snow would all be pushed to the south side of this valley gutter here.
Okay, farther then.
Mm-hmm. One thing too, in regards to the stormwater and connections to the storm line, we are going to have to look at on-site storage, and it's probably going to be underground storage in this case. The state's going to take a look at the pre-developed runoff amount as opposed, and then compare that, I should say, to post-development runoff, and we're going to get a lot a lot more runoff and at a higher rate with this now being parking lot instead of a grass area. So that's another thing that we have to take a look at during design. So there may be, before we make that final connection to the storm line, the storm main in the highway curb here, we may have to put in a control structure that just controls the release rate coming off our site. One other thing I was going to add we could take a look at lessening the pavement in here so that it's providing just the buses, and then make this island larger, unless you are thinking of putting in parking in this center area. We don't need this 25 feet or this 20 feet here for the buses. We could incorporate that 20 feet along with this island area and see if that helps us gain any additional parking in here. Again, I don't know either if you want to, during the daytime, if you want to mix car traffic with bus traffic.
No, I don't think we really want to mix it because that's the kind of the purpose behind this is to keep it safe. Safe.
In that case, we could make this, we can save a little bit of money and reduce this pavement and just provide what's needed for the buses to come in, pick up and leave. So this island would get a little bigger, less pavement area. Just the buses then would, as the buses line up, obviously they'd have to leave in the order that they come. I don't know if that's an issue or not. So that first bus that comes into the site's going to have to park up here, and then they'll follow behind them, and no one will leave until this first bus leaves. Does that work with school's operations?
I think this is the time to get what's functional. The disadvantage to that would be, I'm thinking of the example of the special ed buses, the special ed bus having to leave, you know what I mean? So, no. So there are times that we don't have them leaving in the right order. And
okay.
So it would be nice to have to be able to pull out.
Right now to be able to wait or
to pull out when they need to.
Yeah, that's true. They do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think now is the time to get, when you're looking at this, Lori, get what we need long-term,
Because we do double parking right now at times to be able, so that the special ed bus is able to pick up and leave.
Right.
To.
Yeah. And so I think that there are times that we need them to pull out and not leave in order, and that they do need to pull out. And when they can do a safe drop off on the side like that and still be able to pull out and leave, that would be very, very nice.
Okay, good.
So the way it's set up right now, it would allow for them to be able to pull out.
Yes.
And go. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that would probably be better, just because we never know the timing necessarily. It changes with the special ed bus. So.
Mm-hmm.
And also in the morning, I notice the special ed bus pulls way ahead in front to let all the kids get off, but he knows to park far enough ahead so that the other regular buses that are coming can go around him when it's their time to leave, because he has the wheelchair lift, so he has to get them off, and then let's say Tom or Mark come behind him, they're able to go around him.
Yeah, so we kind of need that flexibility.
Yeah, and this design would allow for that right now.
Yeah.
So if that special ed bus is going to park, up in this area up here, is that bus then equipped such that you said it's got a wheelchair lift, so they don't need this area to be flush with the sidewalk, right?
No, where
Okay.
he parks now, it has a curb. So
Okay.
he's able to pull the ramp up over the curb, and then it's a smooth transition from the lift down onto the sidewalk.
Perfect.
So when you do this, do you have to have so much, for environmental reasons, permeable surface when you do a lot of paving and make parking lots?
What we need to do is follow the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's requirements, and what they're concerned about is water quality. So if we end up adding the limit is 1 acre of new impervious. So if our project adds 1 acre of new impervious, such as parking, paved areas, then we have to treat that water such as a wet pond. In this case, Corey ran through the calcs, and it appears that we're going to be well below that 1 acre threshold. So we shouldn't need to provide any permanent water quality ponds on site.
Okay, thank you.
Is that even when we finish out Mary Vasika's portion where the house is, we would still meet those numbers?
Yeah, we'll have to take a closer look at that. Because what might happen is, yeah, we'll take a closer look at that when this is built out and kind of do a master plan. It might be, we might end up getting close. Yeah, if we are, then we may have to use a portion of this for a pond, but that's a good question. We'll have to look into that a little closer, make sure that we're planning ahead for the this filling in with pavement.
And I mean, keep in mind too, I mean, if we're going to incur a heavy cost to just get a couple more parking spots, I'm sure we could, because you can keep it gravel and still be, permeable, correct?
Gravel is considered impervious. As far as the NPC is concerned, gravel is the same as asphalt pavement.
Gotcha.
But one thing you can take a look at too is if we take and we fill this in with pavement, maybe what we can do is this area over here that's gravel could be turned to grass, and now you've got the ability to deduct this from what you're adding, because the only thing they look at is a net increase. So we might have that. That should help us out when this gets filled in. But we'll run the numbers and just verify that so that we know in the future when you pave that you're not going to have any issues with stormwater quality.
Are there other questions or input on the design?
When the kind of second phase, I guess, of the parking lot gets done, will there be access to the parking lot, like the staff parking lot from the highway, or will the access all continue to be on that inside road?
I guess my thought was everything was going to come off Feather Street and access the parking lots here off of this bus lane, rather than trying to get another access off of the highway. I think I think it's a little safer to get them off of the highway and then come in and out of the parking lot. But is that something that the school would like to see? Is more access along here for the parking?
My thought was we are already going to have, if people are coming from the south, we're going to have 2 left lanes going across 59. That's going to be enough. So, I mean, if you look already what it's like with buses trying to come in and out and staff coming in and out and parent dropouts, and we're going to have 2 left lanes going in, I think that's going to be plenty. Other thoughts?
And I would think it'd be a lot safer just to have them turn in on that main road, come in off that street and turn into a parking lot versus coming off of 59 into a parking lot. It would seem like, to me, a lot safer, but.
Mm-hmm. And we do have, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that, Steve. One thing to add, just because it is kind of related, I've met with the city of Ogema already to work through kind of some of the permitting and requirements. So they did see the very original plan that Lisa and Dan had seen also. One comment they had is that the city wanted to know if the district would be in favor with going to the state and trying to reduce the speed limit on Highway 59 in town. So I'm not sure what all it would entail to do that, but I guess what is kind of our thoughts on that? Would we be in support of that?
Yeah, and just to piggyback on, we tried for 2 years to do that. It was at Safe Routes to School. We worked on Safe Routes to School, and we actually worked with the DOT, who was on a member from DOT was on our team and tried to work with us to do that. And we were not successful. So we've tried for a couple of years. So we're very committed to make that happen. So that's very encouraging that the city wants to work with us to do that. Others can jump on, but and share those opinions. But we did try for a couple of years to do that. When the speed limit's 40, that means a lot of people are coming through at 50. So it's, getting that down to 30 would be something that we would very much support. That would be a big priority.
Yeah, I
Steve,
agree.
have you dealt with that much before?
No, I have not.
Well, I think one of their concerns, Jordan, was when they would do the surveying, they were afraid that with the amount of cars going out of town and picking up speed, that they would actually have to change and increase the speed limit versus decrease. And that was from what they said a couple of years or a few years ago when we were going through that process. It would even be nice if there were times like the school, entrance an hour during the morning, an hour at the end of the day where, you have the flashing lights that they need to slow down. But I don't know if that would be an option either as an alternative thought.
Sure. And I just brought it up just because kind of related to what we were talking about there, but that's not something that we would really address in this project. I just wanted to get the thoughts while we all had everyone here. So maybe we don't have the right solution, but that is probably something that between Lisa and I, we can discuss, seeing if we can maybe team up with the city to pursue that. And Steve, I think I kind of cut you off before, so I'll hand the mic back to you.
Oh no, I was gonna mention again, if the district wants to take a closer look at snow removal, like I said, right now we've got everything that you see around this parking lot as mountable curb and gutter. And if there's any areas where you'd like to make that standard curb, where you've got the 6-inch height that is basically vertical, let us know and we can change that. It might be, if you're going to have a plow come in here, it's easier for them to ride alongside a vertical curb than a mountable curb, because the mountable, the blade will kind of want to ride up. So just kind of putting a thought in your head, if there's any areas where you'd like to see standard rather than the mountable that we're currently showing. The difference, if you look closely at the plan, I don't know if we have it. Yeah, you can see the 6-inch vertical is shown with the line, these two lines closer together. The mountable on the plan is shown with it as being equal. So that's one way you can distinguish between the two. So you can see over on this roadway here, this is standard 6-inch curb. As we go south and we get into the parking lot, now we transition into the mountable.
When we want just your standard curb, especially on that car pickup lane, I mean, if a parent is not paying attention, their car easily goes over the surmountable curb versus a 6-inch curb. They're going to be hitting a bump, you know.
So I can add to that, Derek, just a little bit, and this is just what I had discussed with Dan a while back. And one other thing I want to add up is that we currently have the street that comes through here that is actually the city's responsibility for snow removal, or for at least maintenance, not necessarily snow removal. I think that's kind of been a sore spot because I think from talking with Dan, they don't touch it much and he doesn't touch it much. So with this project, we are looking to vacate that street so that this would be the district's sole responsibility for the upkeep of that. But then, Derek, to answer your question, what Dan and I had talked about is that if we don't have mountable curb, at least in a good portion of that turnaround area, there's really nowhere to go with pushing this snow. So that was the intent. I think, kind of like Steve said, we can look at adding more of the traditional curb there, but I think the intent is we need to have at least something there to relocate snow. And I guess I'm not sure if anybody sees any other ways that the district could potentially move snow there.
Oh, so you're talking so that they can just push it right over through the curb, right across, literally all the way right across west.
Correct.
Yeah, I see.
But that being said, that may only need to be in the middle stretch, and we could go with a more traditional curb, like Steve said, that may actually help with plowing to help guide the plow around until we get to that point.
So yeah, we could look at this area in here being mountable, and we get up to this other side of the ped ramp. Now we turn this into a vertical curb. We do have a large opening here for a pedestrian ramp, but at least the portion that's on this south side could be a vertical curb. And same thing over here. This could be vertical if you'd like. So I don't see you pushing. I don't know if you're going to be pushing anything this direction. I don't see that happening. You don't have a lot of room there. But if you wouldn't mind just taking a look and just maybe identifying some areas where you'd like to see the mountable and where you'd like to see standard.
Yeah, I guess we would just touch base with Dan on that and see what he needs for it. I'm just, for safety reasons, especially when they're turning, when they're coming around that corner. I mean, it's easy to, for whatever reason, if they're just not paying attention for a split second, you got kids on the sidewalk there, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Just to note too, there is a ped ramp, through the middle between the parent drop off and the bus loop. That snow would be able to be pushed through, having a full height curb throughout the entire parent drop off, not needing to hop the curb anywhere else except through that pedestrian ramp.
How wide is that ramp? 12 feet, it looks like?
It's 12 feet wide, but it's 20 feet in the north-south direction. So basically they have, so from here to here, they've got a 20-foot wide opening that is flush where they could push snow through there if that is enough room for them.
Okay.
And then we can make everything on this side then standard height curb.
And it can be bigger than 20 feet too if it's necessary.
Okay.
This is just one of the requirements to meet Minnesota ADA for passenger loading zone. Corey, do you have any questions that you can think of right now?
Would the center of that bus loop be used for snow storage at all, or is that a visual concern?
It depends on whether you're going to use it for overflow parking or not, I guess.
I think we
Eliminated that.
I think we decided that we were not going to use it for overflow parking. Just to keep the buses separate from the cars.
I don't know, I think Kyle and Dan would have to talk about that, but a couple of concerns would be, when it melts, going right back into the, area for, the ice. And the other thing is if it gets too high vision, blocking the vision.
Sure.
Yep.
So those would be two concerns I would have. So if we did, it would be minimal.
Okay.
Wouldn't you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I think so. I just, I guess without seeing elevation things, I don't know what goes on to the west.
Right.
Yeah, that's the next step is once we get kind of the go ahead on what we have shown here, and not that it still can't change, but if we're close, where you guys are feeling comfortable with what we're showing, our next step is to start looking at grading the site and working with the elevations that we have to work with.
The third thing is if you're going to look at that for snow, what do you have for drainage built in there?
Yep, exactly. They kind of go hand in hand. Yep.
From my perspective, I like the layout of this. I like how it's separated. I like it. I think it's getting more details to it. So I think getting some feedback. I think talking to Dan and Kyle a little bit more about the curbs. You're talking a lot about the curbs. I think for our perspective, finding a little bit more about drainage and the elevations for where we're going to put snow and how that's going to all work. I think that's some more critical information to get to that next level. Other people
from like this
questions?
Well, I was just going to say from like the student side of thinking of an actual student, like running out to the bus or running to their parent's vehicle. I like the idea of the vertical curb for the parent because it's kind of a visual stop sign for the kids, not to just run out into the parking lot, where the mountable curb is a ramp that you just run down that. It looks like just a way going out into the parking lot. Where on the school bus line, they can load in different spots. So you would almost want a ramp because they're loading kind of all the way around the loop. So I like the idea of mountable in one and vertical in the other.
You're talking just over on the parent pickup. How about on the school bus side? Are you concerned about kids? Are you gonna be able to keep the kids on the sidewalks to get to their bus?
Well, we have paras that help the students out. So I think I like this from the prospect that I'm out there in the morning and we have parents cutting in front of buses and we have kids running across the parking lot. This way the kids are on one side with the parent pickup and they're not interrupting with the bus process going around their loop. So from a safety concern, this is way better than what we have now. And if we just, after school, then we just need to have our paras be more cognizant and actually walk their lines out to the buses instead of just sending them out there and they're running out there.
And then will we still have an early bus and a late bus? So like when I see all of those buses there, like we probably would never have that many buses there, right? Like I'm just looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like early bus. What do we have?
We have 6 for the early bus plus special ed bus, so up to 7 with the first round, and then the second round is between 4 and 6 as well, depending on if 10 and 12 need to pick up twice.
Okay. So I'm just looking like, I mean, if you count 7 buses, we wouldn't even be wrapping around that back part.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we were given a bus count of 10, so we assumed that it was at the same time, but we probably shouldn't have made that assumption. So
I think that's still okay because we want to be building for what's to come in the capacity in the future. So I think that that's still a good plan to be able to do that. You know, when we do this, we want to be planning for what's coming. So
yeah.
I agree.
And by the looks of it, I mean, even if one of those smaller buses or even bigger buses need to fit in there, they could still squeeze in towards that island and wait their turn and then go back in line. You know, I mean, I don't think we definitely have the room the way it looks. And we're at capacity with the school, so we shouldn't really be going any bigger, or we shouldn't need much more than what we have right now since we're pretty much at capacity, correct?
Second floor, Derek.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Good luck.
I'm kidding.
no, but over time we can be looking at different release times, and you know, school can change, and there's all those things that can change what transportation might look like. So there's nothing in the works, you guys.
And there's nothing to keep you in the future too from just extending the sidewalk. And I mean, buses could still, you know, line up as far back as you need them to. But yeah, trying to keep, at least we've got you know, the core group of buses here fairly close to the entrance.
Well, right on. Well, nice work on the design, guys. That looks pretty sweet.
Okay, sounds good. I think what we'll do then is we'll plan on, and just remember that you know, we can still tweak things, but we're just going to move on with our design and start looking at grading and drainage, kind of go from there so we can get this project completed and out for bid.
Yeah, so basically next steps down the road here, I guess Lisa and I can touch base on whether or not that we need to have a user group meeting, but honestly, I think you guys did a great job as a group collectively. I think we got a lot of good input here. I think we're getting pretty close to where we need to be. So realistically, I think Lisa and I will discuss if we want another user group meeting or not, but the next formal meeting will be the DD documents, which is design development. And so what Steve will do is he'll have, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but you'll have a good portion of grading figured out by that, or at least a preliminary grading layout there.
By when did you say?
That would be the DD presentation.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
So it will be a lot like this plan, with some of the with changes of what we talked about today, along with that grading, and that'll pretty much be the next formal meeting. That'll be something that we present to the board for board approval. So we'll be looking for board approval to proceed on to construction documents from that point. So if anybody has any thoughts or anything that is major that we absolutely forgot, feel free to reach out to Lisa or even myself directly if need be. And you know, we want to get that input now while we can. But I kind of, like I said before, I think we're getting pretty close where we want to be. I hope you guys agree with that. Does anybody hate it or just absolutely not like anything about it?
I thought it was a great design. There is one question that was coming up, and I think I missed it because I had somebody else coming into my office. But in that middle part where the buses are, is there a reason why we have that curb and everything in there? If we're going to use it for parking, can't you take that? I mean, just be a tar or concrete slab or whatever it needs to be.
So I think what we had discussed before was that we would not use that for any overflow parking, just for the case of we don't want any cars mixing with buses at all for a safety concern.
I get that, but I mean, after schools when they have functions there, all kinds of things that people will be parking in there, whether you say they can or not. So that's what I'm, kind of is why is that curb in that inside piece there?
I'll just the reason it's there right now is just because we didn't think that we were going to have parking in there, and to save money, there was no reason to pave it if we weren't going to park in there. I mean, you're just paving an area that really we didn't think was going to be used. I guess if you want to pave that area and you can control the traffic such that you're not going to have cars in there during the middle of the day that's going to intermingle with the buses, then I mean, I'm fine with that. It's just however you feel you want to operate the lots.
Well, that might be able to solve the problem of the sped buses in and out of there, and able to pull out and go around if there's room for them to do that. I'd rather have us do something that's going to be advantageous instead of prohibitive. So
the other thing, Steve, once we have those numbers in tow for the permeable stuff and whatever, if we were to put that in there and that's kind of just temporary on that circle bus, we should get those numbers like you're saying for that 1 acre stuff for non-pavement. So if that needs to be grass, I think where Mary Wasika's property is, if we make that a full circle of pavement, but then we lose 10 spots where Wasika's property would be, down the road in a couple of years, I think we need those numbers just showing what we can turn into pavement total in there, like total completion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to take a look at that kind of a master plan, look at it so that when that house does go and you do fill that in with parking lot, that you don't have to worry about providing on-site stormwater quality. Yeah, we'll take a look at those numbers.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to avoid underground tanks, that's for sure.
Well, you still might not get by without underground storage, just to satisfy the DOT. Because like I said, right now, more than likely what they're going to require is that we do not exceed the pre-developed flow rates. And when we take and we pave an area that's currently grass, we're increasing that flow rate, and they don't want to see that flow rate increase. So we might end up with some underground storage regardless.
Yeah, then I guess it'd be a really good idea to know the total numbers, because if we're doing underground no matter what, then we might as well have a slightly bigger tank that's suitable to where we can turn that bus turnaround area into pavement as well,
Yep, just remember that they're two separate issues. One is the MnDOT's requirements for what we can allow to discharge offsite has to do with the rate of the water leaving the site. And the MPCA is concerned about the quality, and MPCA does not consider any type of underground device as a treatment of settling out any sediment. So you'd be looking at, in this case, probably a wet pond is the most typical to satisfy MPCA. There are a few other options as well, infiltration trenches or something like that we can possibly look at. But first thing we'll do is we'll just see how close we are to that 1 acre, and then go from there. Come up with some options if we need to once we find out.
And just kind of tuning back to what I was saying before with the DD presentation, that'll be a formal presentation. We'll also include a budget, for what the value of the work is that we see at that point. So that will be also kind of a deciding factor on some of our decisions as we move down the road. So I think it's great that we're planning for the future, but at the same time, we're going to see where the budget lands, and then that'll tell us if some of these future items that we would like but don't necessarily need to do right away, maybe those aren't done now and those need to be a part of that future parking lot inspection when that does come. Or maybe we're under budget and we can look at adding more. We need to kind of get that grading down so that we can get all that figured out and get a solid budget put together. But so I just don't want to promise everything, but at the same time, you know, there might be an opportunity where we could get more also. So just so that we're all aware of that too. But yeah, I guess Steve, anything kind of final that you'd like to add here?
No, I don't have anything additional. Just if anybody has any questions, just let Jordan know and he'll pass it on and kind of go from there. But we're going to continue with our design, and we can take a look at DD, and if anything needs to be modified, we can still make some modifications. So.
Sure. Well, thanks, Steve. Corey, is there anything you'd like to add?
I do not have anything.
All right. And Trevor?
Nothing else for me.
And
All right.
if you get information or updates about, you know, the turn lane, overhead power lines, you know, any of that information, if you can pass that along to Jordan along the way, and I'll pass that along to the committee, so, or the user group. So
Perfect. Sounds
great.
good.
Thank you
And,
very much.
Lisa, just a note. I need to follow up with you on maybe some information on what's existing with that Vizeka property and then that Verizon pole also. So I'll follow up with you on that side, and then we'll have to get that info to Steve also.
Okay, sounds great.
But that's it for what I had planned and what Obernell had planned. So if we don't have any other questions, I guess, Lisa, anything you guys would like to add?
Just appreciate everybody's time and everybody's input. You know, a lot of these decisions are going to be with the district for a long time, so they're big decisions. So thank you very much for your time, your input. Really appreciated. And thank you for your work. It's good work.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.